Hi there. My name is Maria. You might have listened to me tell my gambling addiction story and share my plan of recovery via my podcast, The Feeling Better, which is available on all the major podcast platforms. In that podcast, I essentially narrate the book I wrote and published via Amazon in late February 2023. I decided to do that because most addicted, compulsive gamblers who would benefit most from my book often don't have the extra resources, in some cases not even a dime, to spare. I share my story of gambling addiction throughout the podcast in each of the episodes, starting from the first episode titled Introduction and My Story. To make a long story short, I'm a humble housewife and part-time homesteader in my late 40s. I am a Christian, and up until recently, always considered myself an honest person of high integrity with a strong moral compass. All that changed because of my addiction. It all started last summer when I won $10 from playing the Mega Millions jackpot and couldn't withdraw my winnings from the app. Instead, I played one of the online games and quickly fell into the enticing lure of online slot games. As I stated in my introduction episode, my compulsive gambling addiction happened quickly and severely, overtaking every aspect of my life within a short span of time. Thankfully, I was able to overcome my addiction once and for all, but the financial fallout was devastating. I'd gambled away all the money in our checking and savings account, maxed out all of our credit cards, took out insanely high-interest payday loans, and even sold off the gold and silver we had stashed away in our safe. I completely wrecked our credit, and as we're approaching 50, we now find ourselves without any savings, assets, or retirement. We're literally one emergency away from complete and utter financial ruin. My story dives quite deep into the self-loathing, the despair, the hopelessness I felt, including a few times when I even had suicidal thoughts. This addiction wrecked every part of my life. Thankfully, my husband is a saint. He forgave me and stood by me with a level of unconditional love and support that I honestly didn't deserve. In the telling of my story, and as I shaped out the points of my book, one of the things that made me viciously angry was the realization that online gaming, especially here in Michigan, is all relatively new, and there's very little accountability, liability, or regulation over the marketing, advertising, and in-app business practices these casinos use to entice new bettors or hook current ones. Governor Gretchen Whitmer signed the Lawful Internet Gaming Act, Lawful Sports Betting Act, and the Fantasy Contest Consumer Protection Act on December 20th, 2019. The Michigan Gaming Control Board authorized online gaming and sports betting on January 22nd, 2021. Since then, Michigan is becoming one of the fastest growing, if not the fastest growing, gaming market in the entire country. In 2021 alone, the agency licensed or registered over 2,000 entities, including almost 900 related to the commercial casinos and 650 related to internet gaming and sports betting. Did you know that only 7 states at the moment allow legal, regulated online betting? Those states are Connecticut, Delaware, Michigan, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, Nevada, and West Virginia. A handful of other states do allow online sports betting, but no online casinos. Here's a kicker, though. Only 2 states in the entire nation allow every kind of online gaming available, from sports betting to lottery to casino slots. Take a guess at one of them. Yep, you got it. Michigan. Pennsylvania is the other state. Yet, unlike Connecticut or Nevada or some of the other states that allow online gaming, Michigan has very little in the way of resources to help addictive and compulsive gamblers. March is Problem Gambling Awareness Month, and Michigan finally had enough sense to launch a new website and advertising campaign for problem gambling called Don't Regret the Bet. More information can be found at don'tregretthebet.org. It's about time. Connecticut has had a very robust group called the Connecticut Council on Problem Gambling. While Michigan is providing some helpful resources to problem and addicted gamblers with this campaign, all of the responsibility is on the player, not the casino. I'm eagerly awaiting the day when the big casinos are going to be held accountable for the tactics and methods they use to draw in new gamblers and keep addicted gamblers hooked. Here is a perfect example of what I mean. Just now, as I'm on various websites doing my research on gaming in Michigan, a new ad from a casino just popped up on my screen offering up to $1,000 as a first bet offer bonus for new players. Terms and conditions apply, of course. No hyperlink or button to view those terms and conditions, just a big Bet Now button that prompts you to download the app. What kind of outrage would there be if this was a cigarette ad in bright, splashy colors, enticing me with a free carton of cigarettes and a big button that read, Smoke Now? I'd mentioned in my book that I'm a smoker, and in my opinion, gambling caused far more harm to me in my life than cigarettes ever did or would ever do. If given the preference of lung cancer or compulsive gambling addiction, I would choose lung cancer every time. If that doesn't convey the level of pain my gambling addiction caused me, then go and listen to my podcast episodes where you can listen to me talk about my experiences with raw, emotion-filled detail. And yet, the casino apps fill my social media feeds and advertise on network and television commercials, and even by billboards throughout the state to market their online gaming apps to citizens of every age and demographic. I even mention in my podcast how in my small rural town and with relatively few billboards, one of them happens to be an online casino. My Instagram and Facebook news feeds were full of sponsored casino app ads. Anyway, while the community of addicted gamblers is still relatively small because only 7 states allow online casino games, there are other states looking to jump on board. Indiana, New York, New Hampshire, Maryland, and Kentucky all have bills here in 2023 that will try to pass legal online gaming for its citizens. It's a source of serious revenue for the state, so I wouldn't be surprised to see that number of new states considering online gaming grow exponentially in the coming years. That makes my mission all the more critical. Some statistics show that as many as 10 million Americans suffer with a gambling addiction. According to Yale Medicine research studies, up to 7% of youths develop a gambling disorder, and many gambling disorders begin in adolescence. College students also gamble at higher rates than the general population. For the life of me, I can't understand how these casinos haven't yet been held responsible. How are they allowed to advertise knowing their product causes physical or mental harm? Did you know that gambling has the highest rate of suicide amongst all the addictions? That rate is even higher amongst veterans and young adults under 25. And yet, these casinos continue to advertise and market their apps to college-age kids and adults with enticing free money offers. Unlike the big tobacco industry that was forced to remove advertising that could be harmful to impressionable children and young adults, the casino marketing is still going strong. I think they're even worse, with their promise of big fortune and brightly colored, splashy advertisements offering big bonuses and jackpots. In addition to the blatant advertising and marketing I've witnessed recently, I was stunned to see some pretty suspect in-app business practices by these online casinos that I feel specifically target problem and compulsive gamblers. As I embark on my mission to provide hope and healing to addicted gamblers around the world, it's also my intent to bring awareness to the unethical and damaging policies, practices, and mechanisms these online casino apps use to entice new players and harm compulsive ones. Allow me to share some of the points I bring up in my podcast in a descriptive narrative that showcases my experience and thoughts on these practices. If you're an attorney or investigator and are interested in talking with me further about these points, please fill out the form on my website, thefeelingbetter.com, or email me, maria@thefeelingbetter.com. First, nearly all of the online casino apps entice brand new gamblers with a deposit bonus of some sort. Many of them advertise a 100% match, sometimes even up to $1,000 on all brand new, first-time players who deposit into the app. What they don't make clear, unless you specifically read the fine print, which is typically buried under the terms and conditions deep in the menu tree within the app, is that there's a playthrough requirement before you can withdraw. This applies to a withdrawal even of your own money that you initially deposited. These playthrough requirements are often 10 times or even 15 times your deposit amount. So that means you have to play that much first before you can be allowed to withdraw. So for example, let's say a new player makes a deposit of $200 and gets another $200 match from the casino app bonus. By accepting that deposit match, you've agreed to play through their requirement. That means, in the case of a 10 times playthrough requirement, a player cannot withdraw unless they've wagered at least $2,000 on slot games or sports bets. Why do they do that? Well, for starters, it prevents players from immediately withdrawing the bonus money they received. But why make them play 10 or 15 times their deposit rather than just playing through the deposit alone? I can't say for sure, but my guess is that by forcing new players to spend a significant amount of time playing, they have the opportunity to entice them with a couple of dopamine rushes from a big win. The more or longer they play, the more apt they'll get hooked. It's the equivalent of enticing a new smoker with just a few cigarettes versus a whole carton of cigarettes. Like many new online casino players, I learned the hard way that even if I happened to win some kind of jackpot or bonus, I couldn't cash it out. I was forced to continue playing it down versus stopping and withdrawing it. Just today, I saw an ad for a casino and saved a screenshot of it. The ad screams out in bright colors, "Get up to $1,000 casino bonus back." Only in minuscule fine print that's barely readable against the splashy vivid colors of the ad does it say 5 times wager requirement on bonus. Another screenshot from a different online casino I saw read up to $750 free. And then at the bottom in fine print, it only says terms and conditions apply. I had to dig deep to find those terms and conditions where it states 100% match of a patron's deposit up to $750 in bonus casino play with 10 times wagering requirements to release funds. How many 21-year-old college students are going to go searching for the app's terms and conditions to read that before depositing? Not many, I would think. In my experience gambling, withdrawals are one of the main ways that online casino apps target, trap, and harm gamblers, especially problem gamblers with compulsive behaviors or a full-on addiction. In my first introductory podcast episode, I described my experience with the Michigan Lottery app's shady withdrawal process that was the catalyst that sparked my entire gambling addiction. When I logged into the app, I saw I'd won $10. I knew the odds were minuscule that I'd win anything at all, let alone the big jackpot. I'd spend $40 to win $10. Pretty lame, right? That's what I thought back then. Oh, how quickly life can change. I fumbled my way around the app until I got to the withdrawal page where I requested the withdrawal of that $10. Now, this is something I'm going to be talking about in other episodes, but these gambling apps are absolute dillweeds for some of their shady business practices. Because when I attempted to withdraw that $10, I got the error, "Sorry, this method is not available for withdrawal." What? How could that be? I'd used my bank debit MasterCard to deposit the $40, but at the time, no idea what the policy is now, the Michigan Lottery app could not process withdrawals back to a MasterCard. They only withdrew to Visa cards. Isn't that insane? So they had no issue taking my deposit from my MasterCard debit card, but they couldn't withdraw back to it. Talk about scammy to the 10th degree.
There I was, annoyed, irritated, without a whole lot of patience for what I immediately thought was a big manipulative scam to get you to forego your winnings. One of the options on the app offered for withdrawal of your winnings was to request a voucher that you could cash in at a Michigan lottery retailer. The problem was, I'd just been to the grocery store that morning and wouldn't go back for another 2 weeks. Then I saw the little button that read, "Play one of our online games." I saw that I could use that $10 to play one of the many real money gambling games that they offered on the app. That, my friends, was the Rubicon, the point of no return. I shrugged, feeling like there was no point in stressing over $10, and I had nothing else to do. So I picked their top suggested game and played with a $1 bet. Within a few spins, I'd won $25. Again, I went back to the account screen and attempted to withdraw my winnings, and again I was met with the same error that I could not withdraw to my card. I even got up and grabbed my wallet to see if the other checking account debit card was a Visa. Nope, that too was a MasterCard. With every fiber of my being, I wish I could go back in time and make the decision to request a voucher that I could then take to the store to cash out, even if that meant hanging on to it for a couple of weeks until I went to the store again. 100 times since that moment, I'd had the desperate thought, if only I could just go back in time, have a do-over, just turn the stupid clock back once, just once. The worst and most despicable practice involving withdrawals was what ultimately caused my financial ruin. In each of my episodes, I described 3 times that I canceled and reversed significant withdrawals that were pending approval. I'd reversed several small ones, but there were 3 instances of withdrawals over $3,000 that required processing, which took between 48 and 72 hours. In fact, there was one particular casino that really frustrated me with their ridiculous limited withdrawal policies. There was one day when I made a deposit using my MasterCard debit card, a card I'd used several times before and that only took seconds to become available for play. However, before entering into any games, I had a moment of clarity that I just did not want to lose that day, which I knew was inevitable. I had bills to pay, and somehow I stopped myself before wagering even a single dollar. Instead, I went right into the withdrawal option and attempted to withdraw the money that I had just deposited. However, it wouldn't allow me. Frustrated, I initiated a chat with an agent who told me there was no instant withdrawal available. My only option was an ACH withdrawal, which could take up to a week for processing. How is it possible that with PayPal or Venmo, I can add money and then withdraw it immediately with instant withdrawal if I change my mind? Yet with these casinos, it takes up to a week. A week! I can mail myself a check and then cash that check and still have my money faster than that. Here's a clip of episode 2, which went live on February 26th, where I describe in detail my experience with withdrawal processing and the way these casinos even allow you the option to cancel and reverse your withdrawal while it's processing. As you'll see, all of that, from the lengthy time it takes to process to the feature that allows you to cancel and reverse your withdrawal and continue playing that money, has one sole purpose: to entice addicted and compulsive gamblers to continue playing and wagering. Have a listen. As a side note, I think one of the most despicable business practices the casino apps allow is the ability for a player to cancel their withdrawals because they need time to process it. I mean, once they have all your contact and financial info verified and approved, there's absolutely no reason why a withdrawal shouldn't be instantaneous. Sure, I can see if you won some major amount or a ginormous jackpot over $25,000 or something like that. I can justify that as possibly requiring a bit of extra time to verify the win, but an $8,000 withdrawal when I've deposited and played tens of thousands of dollars previously? No way should it take more than a few minutes. Even if they set a $5,000 instant limit per day or something, at least I could have had the $5,000. Banking apps like Zelle, Venmo, and PayPal move that kind of money instantaneously all the time, even without all the verification documents that we've provided to those casinos. Might I have deposited again and continued playing even if that money had been instantly transferred to my account? Maybe, but maybe not. One thing I do know is that I definitely would have used most of it, if not all of it, to pay down some bills. Once it was in my bank account, I would have had an easier time closing down my account on the app and self-excluding once and for all. In all reality, now that I give it some thought, never once did any of my deposits to those casino apps take more than 10 seconds to become available for play. Yet several of them will tell you it can take up to 3 days to approve and process your withdrawal. During that processing time, they allow you the convenient option to cancel and reverse it. If nothing else, even if they do legitimately need 3 days to process it, you shouldn't be allowed to cancel and reverse your withdrawals. In my opinion, it's one of the most outwardly direct, in-your-face gimmicks that enticingly and specifically harms problem gamblers. I'm ashamed to say I've done it way too many times. I feel like someone should initiate a class action lawsuit for that very shady business practice. I would be in far less debt than I am today if that feature hadn't been available.
In episode 4, which went live on March 12th, I dive deep into my theory that despite there being declarations and statements by the Michigan Gaming Control Board that all online games are fair, regulated, and unbiased when it comes to wins and payouts, that may not always be the case. I'm not accusing the Gaming Board of unfair business practices or negligence on their part. I have no evidence of that. This is me speculating, and I simply think that the possibility of subtle, embedded machine learning and artificial intelligence programs may identify certain player profiles as being a more lucrative customer base for targeted wins. AI and machine learning are everywhere these days, from smart media and music stations to social media advertising, to everyday convenience tools like Siri or Alexa. During my time playing, as I ran out of money to deposit and began using responsible gaming control limits, I noticed a significant decrease in incidental and significant wins. If you want to hear more on that, please go back and listen to the first 12 minutes of episode 4. What I will say, however, is that the casino apps do some pretty strange things that definitely throw up red flags, like the identity verification process that must be approved before you're allowed to withdraw any money or winnings. Have a listen to a clip from that same episode 4 that went live March 12th, in which I describe how I couldn't withdraw unless I gave the online casinos a full, detailed bank statement that gave them specific insight into all of my spending habits and household financial transactions. The only time in my life that I've ever had to provide a detailed bank statement was when we applied for a mortgage. I'd rented homes, taken out loans, moved large sums of money, got hired for contract or full-time jobs, opened new bank accounts, all without having to provide the level of financial detail that these casinos required from me. It doesn't make sense to me. If I've already provided them with a copy of my driver's license, and in some cases had to actually take a selfie picture holding my driver's license to prove it was really me, and if I also had to provide them with a photo of my bank debit card clearly showing my name and card number, why on earth would they also need my full bank statement? My card was proof that I'm the owner of the account. They wouldn't even let me cross out transactions that had nothing to do with gambling, like our mortgage payment or our employer's direct deposits. No, they had to see it all. Have a listen to my experience, which includes a transcription of a chat conversation I had with a casino customer service rep. Let me put it to you this way. Do you think the gaming industry provides responsible gaming limit options because they care about you? No, peeps, they don't. They only offer that because they're required by law to do it, as some semblance of responsibility and avoidance of liability to those who might suffer from addictions or mental health issues. It's no different than the tobacco industry being required to put a label on cigarettes, issuing a warning for those who might suffer from addictions or physical health issues. That's all it is. The gaming industry is big business, and it's growing bigger every year. Their goal is to lure in people and get them addicted so they keep spending their money on their products, just like Big Tobacco. Do you think that the tobacco industry would love to have everyone quit smoking because it's better for their health? No way. They do what they're required to by law in order to stay compliant with regulations, but they still keep pumping out nicotine-laced cigarettes to the addicts who buy them. When a player starts to put a bunch of limits in place and assign cool-offs or timeouts regularly, clearly that person has a compulsive gambling problem, right? Someone with a healthy habit of casual gaming for occasional entertainment wouldn't have need for those. So, what if, and I'm just asking what if the casinos categorize all of us who use those limits as the addicted suckers who are already going to deposit no matter what? Once you get to a certain point of addiction, and with the AI in place to know your deposits and how much you have to spend, what if they know that you don't have much to offer or deposit anymore and all signs point to serious debt? What would be the point of hooking you with a winning streak or big bonuses or large jackpots? You're already hooked. Either way, though, it really got me to look at the industry as a whole and what kind of business practices, identifiers, or technology might be used behind the scenes to keep me winning just enough small jackpots and bonuses to keep playing, but not enough to get ahead. Who knows? Just something to think about. While I'm on this subject, I want to pose another theory to you. Again, I have zero evidence of anything I'm proposing here, so this is just me speculating, but it's something to consider. About a month into my gambling, I accumulated a nice bank of small wins in one particular casino app and decided to initiate a withdrawal. For 2 days, I anxiously waited for it to process. At the end of the second day, I got an email requesting some documents for verification before my withdrawal could be processed. When I logged into the app and went into the account profile, I saw the request for documents. One was a copy of my ID. That was expected since I'd already done that with other gaming apps. Another request was a picture of the card I'd used to deposit the funds, with instructions to block out all the numbers except the last 4 digits. The third request was a copy of my last bank statement. What? My last bank statement? That was a little odd to me. I read the additional instructions that said my full name and address had to be on the bank statement. So, I took a picture of my license. Then I took a picture of my debit card using a photo editing app to block out all the digits except the last 4. Then, I downloaded my latest bank statement and used Adobe to black out all of the sensitive, individual transactions, leaving only the header which showed my name and address. The next day, I got an email stating my verification was rejected. I logged into the app and initiated a chat that went something like this. Agent, how may I help you today? Me. Yes, I'm trying to request a withdrawal. I uploaded all the requested documents but received an email stating my verification was rejected. Can you tell me why? Agent, after a few moments of checking, it appears as if you blocked out all the individual transactions on your bank statement. Unfortunately, we need the entire bank statement with no alterations. Me. But that's some pretty sensitive information about our spending and finances. I'm not comfortable sharing that. Agent. I'm sorry. We can't process your withdrawal without that. However, I can assure you that all your documents are secure, and nobody here can see them or access them. Me. Well, if they're that secure, then how come I was instructed to block out my MasterCard debit number before uploading? Agent. I'm sorry. The only way we can process your withdrawal is for you to upload proof that you're the owner of the bank account. We need to see the deposits that you made to our site. Me. So, then I can block out all the other transactions and information and just leave the deposits for the casino available? Agent. No, I'm sorry. The document cannot be altered in any way. I just did not feel comfortable giving them my entire bank statement in full. I realized, though, that it was pointless to continue playing in that particular app because even if I won more, I wouldn't be able to withdraw it. So, of course, I just played my winnings away. However, after another month or so, I did get to the point with that casino, as well as a couple of others, where or I simply just gave them my bank statement in full. At the time, I just said, whatever, it is what it is. I have to cash out some winnings. It was the only way I could withdraw anything. I cringe now to think about the fact that I did that because that chat conversation with the agent never sat well with me. I remember the response about my sensitive documents. Nobody here can see them or access them. The documents may have been secure, and it might have been true that no employee could access them. But is it possible, and again, I'm just speculating here, but is it possible that my bank statement could have been accessed by a computer program that reads them and uses the information in them? If we consider the whole player persona theory, then could the information detailed in my bank statement contribute to that? Think about it. When I finally uploaded my bank statements to process withdrawals, I was pretty deep into my gambling addiction. We never had a lot of money to begin with, but at that point, our accounts were pretty dismal. The transactions within my statement showed multiple deposits to several different gaming apps. It showed our employers' direct deposits and how much we earned. It also provided information on everything we pay for each month, from gas to groceries, to our mortgage, to credit card payments. And at the end of that month, our final balance was only about $800. It doesn't take a genius to see that I didn't have a whole lot of money to gamble with. So compare that to, say, a high roller who has a completely separate account for gambling with a $100,000 balance. Or someone who only deposits to one casino app, has only a few bills, and maintains a $30,000 checking account. Again, if you were the casino, who would you cater to more with big wins? Just something for you to consider if you're also wondering why you might have had more losses than wins the more you played. And finally, there's the best part of all, the taxes. Today is March 10th. I just went out to get the mail, and lo and behold, there is yet another tax document waiting in the mailbox for me. Lovely. I just submitted my taxes over the weekend, so now I have to forward this on to my accountant, who will probably have to go back and redo it, adding this one in. Isn't there a deadline for getting tax documents out? I swore there was. I had 4 different W-2-G forms altogether, from casinos that reported my winnings to the IRS. Understandably, income taxes need to be paid on winnings. But I didn't even keep my winnings. My losses far outweighed the money I'd won or kept. Michigan does not allow any provisions for losses, unfortunately. My accountant shook his head when I asked whether I should provide my win-loss statements. Michigan doesn't care if you lost, and you can only deduct your losses on federal taxes if you itemize. You should have seen my face when he asked me for my win-loss records. Did you keep track on a spreadsheet? He asked me. A spreadsheet? How on earth would I even go about doing that? There were days when I was so sick with anxiety and depression that I couldn't even stand the fact that I was still breathing, let alone have the mental capacity and wherewithal to keep an Excel workbook of my wins and losses. I mean, I'm the financial keeper of our household, and I often use Excel spreadsheets for work. It never once occurred to me to keep financial records. How well do you think a 20-something college kid is going to keep track of their records? I'm not going to have any money to pay what I know I owe in taxes. I can't even afford to pay my winter electric bill. So this, along with the rest of my financial ruin, is going to haunt me for years. Maybe even result in garnished wages. Yeah, anyway, my accountant recommended I download my win-loss statements from the casino sites just to have on hand. Of course, I'm now all self-excluded from the sites, which means I can't even get into any of the apps or accounts to do that. On a whim, I just now, before recording this, contacted customer service chat with one of the casinos via my laptop without being logged in. I requested a copy of my 2022 win-loss statement for tax purposes. The rep emailed it to me right away, of course. But you want to hear something creepy? I have my cookies set to clear from my computer every time I shut down. And I don't recall that I've ever initiated any chat with this particular casino before from my laptop. The few times I may have chatted with a rep from any casino, I did it while logged into the app on my phone. When I initiated the chat from my computer just now, I did not log in, nor could it geolocate me since I didn't have the geolocation software installed. In my opening chat request, I typed, "Yes, I'm self-excluded from the app and cannot get into my account, yet I would like to have a copy of my win-loss statement emailed to me, please." I was about to type in my name and email address of my account when the chat agent came back with, "Please provide me with the 2 answers to your security questions you chose when you opened your account. What was the name of your high school, and what was the make of your first car?" I provided him with the answers, and while he pulled up my account, I thought to myself, wait a minute, how did this customer service chat agent know it was me? I wasn't logged in. I hadn't provided any information about who I was, not even an email address. When we concluded our chat, I asked, "Wait, just one more question. I'm curious. You provided me with my security questions without me being logged in or even providing any information about my identity. How did you know who I was? Is my IP address logged so that it pops up as me even if I'm not logged in?" He replied, "You just came up in the chat with your account. Then I asked you the questions, and then you answered them." I could tell by his very complicated and hard-to-pronounce name and the way he phrased things that he wasn't a native English speaker, so I just thanked him and let it go. But yeah, yet another one of those red flags that just doesn't sit well with me. You mean to tell me their systems are so sophisticated that they know it's me when a chat box pops up without cookies or logging in or providing them with any information? And yet, they're definitely not using machine learning or AI to tailor and customize gaming experiences online? Uh-huh. If you believe that, I've got a bridge in Brooklyn to sell you. As I conclude this recording, I just want to make note that this afternoon, there was a post in the Problem Gambling subreddit sharing the news that Belgium is going to ban gambling advertising as of July 1st. According to the article from Reuters, the government is doing this to crack down on addiction and debt, with a further prohibition on ads in stadiums and sports sponsorships coming at a later date. Wow, good for Belgium. In the comments section of the subreddit, as well as on the World News subreddit, where it was originally posted, everyone is expressing the same sentiment, that it needs to happen here, and in Canada, and in Australia. As one commenter said that I continue to state repeatedly, if the big tobacco companies can't advertise to lure in people into their harmful, addictive, and potentially life-threatening products, the big casino companies shouldn't either. Don't think it's a big deal? Let me end it with this conversation I just now had with my husband. I legit stopped him and asked him, "Honey, if you had a choice between me smoking for a year or playing online slots for a year, which would you choose?" His eyes got big. "Smoking, definitely smoking. Just a few months of gambling ruined us for several years, maybe even longer. I was scared we weren't even going to have a house to live in, that you'd put us so far in debt we'd be homeless. I lost all sense of financial security. We have no retirement, and sometimes I just still can't believe you did that. I'm not blaming you or intending you to feel guilty, but I'll personally go out now and buy you a year's worth of cigarettes if you promise me you won't ever, ever gamble again. If you smoke, you might get lung cancer, you might not. But if you gamble, we'll for sure be destitute and lose our home. Forget retirement. We'll be living on the streets. We'll be in debt until we die. Please, tell me this was hypothetical." And there you have it.